For over a century, it was considered impossible, politically, financially, and physically. Now, plans reveal an $8 billion megabridge connecting the United States and Russia. A project so massive it could reshape global trade, military strategy, and power dynamics. But critics warn it may trigger consequences no one is ready for. Join us as we discover the impossible bridge between the US and Russia that's finally becoming reality. Let's go.
Number 10. Confederation Bridge. Canada built an 8-mile bridge crossing water that freezes solid for 5 months of the year. The Confederation Bridge links Prince Edward Island to mainland Canada, crossing the Northumberland Strait. Before this bridge, the only option was ferry, and in winter, when ice got too thick, the island was isolated. The bridge cost 1.3 billion Canadian dollars, took 4 years to build, and had to deal with ice moving with force of 3,000 tons per second during winter storms. Each pillar was designed like a giant blade that cuts and diverts ice blocks instead of resisting head-on. There are 44 pillars total, each weighing 8,000 tons, were built on dry land, transported by barges, and lowered into position with centimeter precision. The foundation of each pillar descends to 115 feet below sea level, anchored in solid rock. The deck is made of precast concrete sections, each weighing 7,500 tons. Were positioned by a floating crane with 8,000-ton capacity, operating in weather windows that sometimes lasted only a few hours. The bridge is high enough to allow passage of ships 200 feet tall, supports 125-mile-per-hour winds, and temperatures ranging from 100 degrees Fahrenheit in summer to -40 in winter. Since opening in 1997, it has never closed. More than 1.5 million vehicles cross every year.
Number 9. Akashi Kaikyo Bridge. Japan built the world's longest suspension bridge in one of the worst possible locations, the Akashi Strait, where ocean currents hit 9 miles per hour and earthquakes are routine. The bridge connects Kobe to Awaji Island across a central span of 6,532 feet. No other suspension bridge on Earth comes close. Construction started in 1988 and took 10 years. Cost $4.3 billion. During construction, in 1995, the Kobe earthquake hit, magnitude 6.9, and killed over 6,000 people. The bridge was 80% complete. The main towers, already erected, shifted 3 feet apart because of tectonic movement. Engineers had to frantically redesign the central span, increasing the length to compensate for the displacement. The main cables on this bridge are 44 inches in diameter and contain 186,000 miles of steel wire each. If you unrolled that wire, you could wrap it around the Earth 7.5 times. The steel is so strong it handles 180,000 tons of tension. The South Tower descends 200 feet below sea level, anchored in volcanic rock through foundations weighing 350,000 tons. To install this, divers worked in conditions where visibility was zero, and the current tried to rip away anything not welded in place. The bridge was designed to handle 180-mile-per-hour winds and earthquakes up to magnitude 8.5. Since opening in 1998, it has never closed.
I'm going to ask you a simple question. Are you a naturally curious person? If you're watching, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. This space is made for people like us. To ensure you're always part of this community and receive all our latest discoveries, you just need to do one thing: subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay connected with us. Okay, now that you're part of our Legion of the Curious, let's move on to the next item.
Number 8. Øresund Bridge. Denmark and Sweden spent centuries separated by 10 miles of water. In 2000, that ended. The Øresund Bridge connects Copenhagen to Malmö through a structure that's part bridge, part tunnel, part artificial island. The entire project is 10 miles, cost $4 billion, and had to respect an absurd rule: couldn't interfere with air traffic from Copenhagen Airport. The solution was building a suspension bridge crossing half the strait, then diving into a tunnel passing 4 miles underneath the shipping channel.
At the point where the bridge becomes tunnel, a 2.5-mile artificial island was built specifically to make the transition. This island didn't exist before. It was created by dredging sand from the seafloor and compacting millions of tons of material until creating solid ground. The tunnel is made of 20 concrete sections, each weighing 55,000 tons, were built in a dry dock in Denmark, towed to position, and sunk in a trench dredged in the seabed. Each section was connected with rubber joints that must remain watertight under 50 feet of water pressure. The suspension bridge has pillars descending 60 feet into the seabed and rising 670 feet into the air, supports 110-mile-per-hour winds and impact from 180,000-ton cargo ships. Cars and trains cross simultaneously, on separate levels. Since opening, 70 million vehicles have crossed, reduced travel time between the two cities from 4 hours to 10 minutes.
Number 7. Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. This isn't just a bridge, it's a 34-mile system that includes bridges, underwater tunnels, and artificial islands. Connects Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau across the busiest bay on the planet. Cost $20 billion, took 9 years to build, and had to deal with a problem no other bridge ever faced. It couldn't block one of the world's most important shipping routes. The solution? Go under. In the middle of the bay, the bridge literally sinks and becomes a 4-mile underwater tunnel passing 150 feet below the surface. To do this, engineers built 2 artificial islands at the points where the bridge dives. These islands were created by depositing millions of tons of rock and sand on the ocean floor, then surrounding everything with steel walls driven 100 feet into the seabed. The tunnel itself is made of 33 giant concrete sections, each weighing 80,000 tons. These sections were fabricated in a shipyard, towed by boats to the exact position, then sunk with millimeter precision and connected on the seafloor. Any leak would be catastrophic, so each joint was sealed with high-pressure rubber and tested with water pumped at 10 times atmospheric pressure. The bridge handles Category 5 typhoons, earthquakes, and impacts from 300,000-ton cargo ships if they lose control. Opened in 2018 and reduced travel time between Hong Kong and Zhuhai from 4 hours to 30 minutes.
Number 6. Sidu River Bridge. China built a bridge so high that planes can fly underneath. The Sidu River Bridge crosses a mountain canyon in Hubei province. The deck sits 1,627 feet above the river. That's higher than the Empire State Building. The distance between towers is 2,952 feet. No pillar in the middle, just air. Construction started with a ridiculous problem. How do you pass the first cable from one side to the other when there's a 1,600-foot abyss in the middle? Helicopter didn't work because winds in the canyon were too unpredictable. The solution? A rocket, literally. Engineers tied a pilot cable to a rocket, fired it from side A to side B, and hoped it would hit the target. It worked. That pilot cable became the foundation for everything that followed. The main towers were built on opposite sides of the canyon, each anchored in solid rock through foundations descending 150 feet. The main cables are 3 feet in diameter and were woven in the air, wire by wire, over months. The deck was assembled in sections suspended by cables, starting from the towers and advancing to the middle until they met. The bridge cost $100 million and took 4 years to complete. Supports 90-mile-per-hour winds and earthquakes up to magnitude 7. Since opening in 2009, it reduced travel time through the region from 4 hours to 40 minutes. Used by thousands of vehicles daily, including heavy trucks transporting goods between remote provinces.
Number 5. Millau Viaduct. France built the world's tallest bridge in a valley where wind is so violent it has flipped trucks. The Millau Viaduct crosses the Tarn River Valley in southern France. The top of the tallest tower sits 1,125 feet above the ground. That's taller than the Eiffel Tower. The bridge is 8,070 feet long and floats over the valley, supported by 7 absurdly thin pillars. Each pillar is made of reinforced concrete with pre-tension steel cables. The tallest pillar descends only 50 feet into the ground, but rises 803 feet into the air. Seems impossible that something so thin could hold a 6-lane highway at that height, but the engineering is brutal.
The bridge deck was built at both ends of the valley and pushed forward gradually using hydraulic jacks and temporary cables. Advanced 20 feet per day. Took 3 years until the two halves met in the middle. The final meeting had a margin of error less than 1 inch across 1.6 miles. Cost was $524 million. But the real challenge was wind. The Tarn Valley functions like a natural wind tunnel, with gusts reaching 130 miles per hour. The bridge was designed to flex, can move up to 13 feet laterally without any problem. Drivers don't feel anything because the curvature is smooth. Since opening in 2004, it reduced travel time through the region by 4 hours and became one of Europe's most photographed architectural landmarks.
Number 4. Vasco da Gama Bridge. Portugal built Europe's longest bridge because Lisbon was suffocating. The Vasco da Gama Bridge crosses the Tagus River estuary along 10.7 miles. Was inaugurated in 1998, exactly 500 years after Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India. Cost $1.1 billion. The problem this bridge solves is simple. Before it, everyone who wanted to cross the river had to pass through the 25 de Abril Bridge, which was in downtown Lisbon. Traffic was hell. Took 2 hours to cross the city. Vasco da Gama changed that. But building 10 miles of bridge over a muddy estuary, subject to earthquakes and ocean winds, isn't trivial. The foundation had to go through up to 300 feet of mud before reaching solid rock. Pillars were made with reinforced concrete, some weighing 15,000 tons. The suspended section in the middle allows passage of large ships, with a central span of 1,378 feet. The cables in this section are 20 inches in diameter. The bridge was designed to last 120 years and resist the strongest earthquake Portugal ever recorded, the 1755 quake, which had an estimated magnitude of 8.7 and destroyed half of Lisbon. Supports 155 mile-per-hour winds. Has 6 lanes and can carry 50,000 vehicles per day. Since opening, it reduced crossing time from 2 hours to 10 minutes and became the backbone of Lisbon's transportation system.
Number 3. Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge. In 2011, China finished a bridge that sounds like complete bullshit until you look at the actual numbers. The Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge stretches 102 miles. Not 102 feet, not 10 miles, 102 miles of continuous bridge. If you drive across this thing at 60 miles per hour without stopping, it takes almost 2 hours just to cross a bridge. It connects Shanghai to Nanjing, passing over rivers, canals, lakes, and entire cities. The project cost $8.5 billion and employed 10,000 workers for 4 years straight. The foundation required 2.5 million cubic meters of concrete and 500,000 tons of steel. But size wasn't the real problem. The terrain was. This bridge crosses one of the most densely populated regions on the planet, cutting through flooded rice farms, swamps, and active seismic zones. Engineers had to drive foundations into ground that changes consistency every few miles. Some sections, the soil is almost liquid, others, solid rock. The solution? Piles that descend 300 feet into the subsurface, anchored in stable geological layers. Each pier was positioned using GPS with millimeter precision, because any misalignment in a 102-mile structure turns into an exponential disaster. The bridge handles magnitude 8 earthquakes, typhoons with 125-mile-per-hour winds, and the weight of high-speed trains passing at 200 miles per hour. Today, more than 50 trains cross this bridge every single day, carrying millions of passengers annually.
Number 2. Gateshead Millennium Bridge. England built a bridge that blinks. The Gateshead Millennium Bridge crosses the Tyne River in Newcastle, but it's not fixed, it rotates. When boats need to pass, the entire bridge tilts, opening like a giant eyelid. Takes 4.5 minutes to open completely. The hydraulic mechanism consumes enough energy to boil 8 kettles. But the design is so efficient, the bridge can open and close 200 times with the same energy a car uses to drive 1 mile. The structure has 2 steel arches connected by cables. One arch supports the deck where pedestrians and cyclists cross. The other is a counterweight. When the bridge rotates, both arches move together, maintaining perfect balance. weighs 850 tons, but rotates so smoothly it seems to be floating, was built in pieces at a shipyard, then transported by a giant barge upriver and positioned by one of Europe's largest floating cranes. Installation took 36 hours non-stop, cost $35 million, opened in 2001 and immediately became iconic. In the first 5 years, 16 million people crossed this bridge. It opened more than 2,000 times, allowing passage of boats of all sizes, won over 30 architecture and engineering awards. It's the only bascule bridge in the world designed exclusively for pedestrians and cyclists, and the opening movement is so popular it became a tourist attraction. People wait just to wait to...
Number 1. Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Virginia decided to connect the Delmarva Peninsula to the rest of the state by crossing 17.6 miles of open ocean. But there was a problem. Chesapeake Bay is one of the main shipping routes on the American East Coast. Military ships, cargo vessels, and oil tankers pass through constantly. A bridge would block everything. So they created something hybrid. The structure alternates between bridge and tunnel. 2 giant artificial islands built in the middle of the bay, where the highway dives into underwater tunnels passing beneath the shipping channels. Cost $200 million in 1964. Adjusted for inflation, that's almost $2 billion today. Construction took 42 months and faced hurricanes, winter storms, and currents reaching 5 miles per hour. The artificial islands were built with 4 million tons of rock dredged from the bay floor and piled inside perimeters surrounded by steel walls. The tunnels were made with prefabricated concrete sections, each weighing 45,000 tons. These sections were towed to location, sunk into trenches excavated in the seabed, and connected. The north tunnel is 1 mile long. The south is 1.2 miles. Between them, 12 miles of suspension bridge over concrete pillars. The structure handles 30-foot waves, hurricane winds, and direct impact from ships. Since 1964, more than 120 million vehicles have crossed. It's considered one of the 7 engineering wonders of the modern world.
Still curious? Then don't stop now. The next mystery is already waiting for you. Just click the video on screen. I saved it just for you. See you there, curious one.